Hello folks, my name is Sarah Sennett. I am the Head of Agency Marketing at Swanky. I'd like to introduce you to Lawrence, who is the Partner Growth Manager at Yotpo.
Hi Sarah, thank you for having me today. So my name's Lawrence. I'm an agency partner manager at Yotpo, and we're an e-commerce marketing platform with integrated solutions for reviews, visual UGC, loyalty and referrals, and SMS marketing.
Amazing. So our main topic of focus for today is UGC. And in our recent ebook, which is the complete guide to internationalization, we discussed the importance of user-generated content, which is the long version of UGC. So can you give us an overview of UGC in an e-commerce context and tell us why it's so important?
Sure. So as you said, UGC is user-generated content, which is essentially any content created by a user or someone outside of the brand. So this could be photos, videos, reviews, ratings, or even a hashtag. The reason why it's so important is because it's a form of social proof. Customers find the opinions of other customers like more persuasive or more trustworthy than hearing something directly from the brand itself. So it's really important in building trust and helping to increase conversions from your shoppers.
That makes complete sense. And I know for myself personally, over the last 12 months with the remote shopping experience that has largely been the norm, reviews have become such an important thing. And the enhancement of UGC with photos and all the things that we'll go on to talk about in a minute have, I think, changed purchasing behavior online for probably forever. So moving on to the main value of UGC, you said that it helps customers to make a better decision. Tell us about more about what UGC can be used for in an e-commerce context.
Yeah, so the main value is definitely in helping customers to build trust in both the brand and then confidence in the products that they're looking to buy. So when that trust and confidence is higher, ultimately a brand's conversion rate will hopefully go up. It can also be used to enhance marketing, so to drive traffic from search and social, or maybe even be pulled into email or SMS marketing as well. Another nice thing about UGC, though, is it helps to both build and show off a community that a brand has built. By showcasing your customer photos or content on site, not only does it make customers feel special, but also shows that they're kind of part of a wider movement and that your brand is popular. Final thing that I would maybe say on this front is that it's really useful feedback from customers. It's great to get an impression of how customers are using your products, what they're using them for, which in turn leads to ways that you can optimize your offering or improve your services for future customers.
I find that part the most interesting for me as a marketer, that feedback of how people are using the product. And I think that's so important when you go into a new international market, because you might not know that much about customers on the ground. You probably built profiles, you probably built personas, but you might not actually know those individuals very well. So seeing what they're doing with your product is really interesting for me as a marketer, because it builds all sorts of ideas in my mind of how we can then improve our offer.
Yeah, I think that's super important for sure, particularly in new markets.
So in terms of the other things that UGC can do for a brand from an operational sense, what are those benefits, and why should a brand going into a new market or a new international location be thinking about that?
I think the first important consideration here is the fact that some customer content really transcends geographical or language barriers, namely photos and videos, because there won't really be any translation required. Seeing a photo or a video of a brand's products is kind of universal. So it's a great way to kind of show that you're an established brand with social proof, with happy customers in a new market without having to do lots of work in translating the content to make it more relevant.
I'm assuming there is the potential benefit there from an operational perspective with regards returns, not just from a brand perspective.
Yes, so regarding returns, that can be really damaging for brands if they have high return rates. Reviews are a chance to, I guess, learn more about your offering in a new market. So it could be that there might be something to do with the production or a sizing or something to do with the logistics of launching in a new market that you weren't previously aware of. The feedback that you get from your customers in this new market can be really, really vital in making sure that everything is optimized moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because for me as a marketer, I get all the benefits of social proof and the content on the website, but I think the operational aspect will be really interesting to folks as well. Trying to keep costs down and stay profitable going into that new market, I think, is going to be one of the key concerns for some of our audience. So I find that part really interesting. There was something else you mentioned about consumers feeling part of a community with regard to UGC. Tell me more about that aspect of it.
I think it's quite easy to speak to from actually like personally how you'd feel in seeing content that you've created or a picture of yourself in a favorite brand displayed on site. It makes you feel valued, first of all. It's nice to know that a brand cares about you and how you're using their products, and helps to foster some genuine loyalty. This also can work quite nicely alongside, say, an influencer strategy. If you have pictures of your customers alongside their favorite influencers or people they look up to, again, it's a great way to make them feel special and part of something bigger.
I think that that's got to play a huge part in the international element, because I'm assuming that as a brand going into a new international market, you don't want to come across as completely new with no reviews, starting from scratch, no pictures. It's going to be much more beneficial if you are an existing brand to make use of that content that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think influencers are a great way to cross the international point, because you can have influencers that are localized to the market that you're launching in. Combining that with different forms of UGC, like maybe review content or customer photos that don't have to be from that region, is a great way to show lots of different types of social proof to ultimately build a lot of trust in your brand from minute one.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that sounds great, which leads me on to my next point is, as part of a merchant's planning to take their brand international or to develop a new international market, what are the key points, what are the key recommendations you would make with regard to UGC?
I think you want to collect as much of it as possible, because it's really easy to transfer lots of this UGC into new markets. Customer galleries of photos and videos, as I mentioned previously, are like, they don't need to be translated. There's no work you need to do to be able to repurpose that content and use it in a new market. Similarly, if you're collecting product reviews for products that you're also going to sell in your new market, syndicating them between your different storefronts is a great way to use that content to boost conversions for the new domain. Another strategy I think that's really useful around UGC is including custom questions in your reviews. These could be around the size of a product or a particular way in which they're being used. These are much, much easier to translate and make applicable to a new market than, say, free text review content from customers as well. So using a combination of those different features is a great way to launch.
That's a huge differentiator, because I think there is this perception that reviews are just reviews. Maybe that's a layman's perspective from my point of view, but collecting custom information about how well does something fit, or whether the sizing is true, and all those sorts of things, it really helps take that UGC to a new level, which I think, from what you're saying, should be absolutely part of an internationalization strategy.
100%. And if we look at the role that UGC plays now that we're, I guess, shopping from home a lot more than before, sometimes it can bridge the gap between that virtual experience and the in-store experience. Having a shopping assistant give you recommendations on sizing or what particular products are used for typically can really help you make the decision to buy confidently, and that's no different internationally.
What about the other tasks that UGC can help users with when they're on the website? What are the other benefits there?
So I think it's really, really good for site navigation, a bit of inspiration discovering the products that I guess you're most interested in. So you can host this UGC on like your homepage, on a dedicated page, maybe on a category page. And what this does is it gives customers a different perspective on which products would suit them best. So maybe seeing a product on another customer as opposed to in like a product image can give you more of an idea of how it would suit someone like you, or using it for the purpose that you had in mind.
Do you think that has a big role to play in how a brand portrays itself when it's going international?
Definitely, but I think it also gives the brand a chance to speak to a lot of different use cases. And you might find that people use your products in different ways in different markets. The lovely thing about UGC, customer galleries and photos and videos in particular, is that you can speak to a variety of different use cases that can be viewed by a customer in a really short period of time.
So for a brand that is doing a really good job of leveraging its users to give these reviews and post this UGC, what would you say a natural next step to enhance that experience for their users is?
Sorry, the question was just the next step once you're already collecting the content.
Yeah, so I was thinking if you're collecting this content and you've got users who are engaged enough to post those detailed reviews or post their pictures wearing the products or using the product, it seemed to me that it might be a natural progression to identify those users as either a VIP or potentially an influencer.
Yeah, so I think you're speaking. There's two types of customers that you might be speaking to here. The gold mine of customers who are actually constantly submitting this kind of content. It's really important that you reward them for it, because it's content that's useful for you. As mentioned before, it kind of ties into this sense of community. So you want your customers to feel special for doing it. But similarly, you want to incentivize other customers to do the same and collect as much of this content as possible, because the more you have, the more information you provide customers to convert. So using a loyalty program, giving rewards for customers to submit this content, maybe even a VIP status if they take enough actions like this, is a great way to incentivize that and give customers reasons to keep on coming back and submitting more UGC.
I think by now as well, everyone knows the value of responding to negative reviews or negative comments. Do you think that in terms of UGC, from the visual perspective, it's as important to be responding to those users if they're not having a good experience?
100%. I think previously there might have been a tendency for some brands to hide their negative reviews, but I'd always recommend against doing this. We're all savvy shoppers by now. If you see a product with only 5-star reviews, it can actually be a bit off-putting and a bit less trustworthy. What can be more important, and at least is to me, is seeing that the brand cares enough about a negative experience and goes some way to make up for it. And the easiest way to show this is to respond publicly to the negative reviews that you do get.
And thinking about taking a brand into a new location, maybe one that has a language that's not native to the domestic market, would you ever recommend translating some of the previous reviews you've got on products that you're taking to that market?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, in an ideal world, that is what you do. However, you don't necessarily need to go to all of the effort of translating those reviews straight away. What actually helps is to provide the average review rating, the number of reviews, and then you can just reference that these reviews have actually been collected in another language and give customers the chance to read them in their native language if translation is not possible.
Yeah, so for me, it sounds like it's most important to get the visual elements, get the content, the videos, the images onto those product pages that you are taking to the international market, because they will always be more powerful. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's no work required to make that content transferable or usable in another country, in another language.
Is there any benefit in UGC from an upsell or a cross-sell point of view?
Yeah, for sure. If you have a customer gallery and you tag the products that are in them, it might be that a customer's looking at a particular item but suddenly sees a nice accessory or an additional product that they'd like to add to it to complete the look, say. So it is a great chance to kind of increase the average order value and hopefully get customers buying slightly more products than they might have initially intended.
Amazing. Well, if there was one thing you could leave our viewers with to think about from a UGC and an internationalization perspective, what would that be?
It would be to start collecting this content and as much of it as possible in advance of your launch. We've spoken quite a bit today about how loads of this content is transferable without any work. So start collecting customer photos and videos and reviews in advance of your launch so that you have loads of social proof when you're ready to get started in a new market.
Amazing. That's been so helpful, Lawrence. Thank you so much. For everyone watching, if you want further information about how to do UGC as part of your internationalization strategy, download the complete guide to internationalization now. The link will be in the description, or it'll be on swankyagency.com. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Awesome.